Good afternoon. I'm Dave Bowles, Director of NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our laboratory on this really, truly historic day. At this time, please silence your cell phones and stand for the posting of our country's colors by the U.S. Joint Base Langley Eustis Color Guard, and then please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by the Woodside High School's Demister Singers from Newport News, Virginia, under the direction of Emilio Passante.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, please go ahead and take a seat. And to the color guard and our singers, thank you for helping us open today's ceremony. As I mentioned, today is a very special day for us here at Langley. In this, our centennial year, we have gathered to celebrate the opening of a powerful new computational facility that promises to accelerate our research for decades to come. But really more importantly, we're here to honor the legacy of one of the most admired and inspirational people ever associated with NASA. And the person for whom this building is going to be named after, Katherine G. Johnson, the mathematician and human computer. Before we go any further, I also want to recognize the distinguished guests that we have participating in today's events. Please hold your applause till I get to the end of the list of names and recognizing them all. So, joining us today, the Honorable Terry McAuliffe, Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Honorable Mark Warner, United States Senator from Virginia. The Honorable Donnie Tuck, Mayor of Hampton. By way of video, we're here from the Honorable Scott Taylor, Congressman from Virginia's 2nd District. Also joining us here today are Colonel Jason Kelly of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, From NASA headquarters, Dan Tenney, the agency's acting associate administrator for mission support. And today's keynote speaker, Margot Lee Shetterly, author of the best-selling book, Hidden Figures, which serves as a basis of the motion picture Hidden Figures of the same name. Sorry. So let's give them all a very warm welcome. Thank you. We also have an amazingly diverse and distinguished group of other guests here today from so many different sectors. We have elected officials, government officials, community leaders, congressional staff members, representatives from industry and academia, as well as the families of other human computers, like Mary Jackson and the Dorothy Vaughan families. Thank all of you for being here today as well. Now, I've saved the best for last. She's a Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, a member of NASA Langley's Hall of Honor, and just last month, she celebrated her 99th birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in letting her know how much we appreciate her in being here in her service to the nation, Ms. Katherine G. Johnson. So in a few minutes, we'll officially open the Katherine G. Johnson Computational Research Facility, or CRF as we call it, a building that sets the stage for our continuing digital transformation in an exciting new era of sophisticated modeling and simulation. We know that these are the tools that will help us shape the world of the future, just as Langley's wind tunnels have helped shape nearly every aircraft that's in the skies flying today. Thanks to this new building's robust, carefully designed infrastructure, we'll do more calculations than ever, and we'll do them faster, more efficiently, and with greater reliability. In a world facing increasingly complex challenges, Langley researchers will need access to more computational power. We will also need a solid foundation on which to create the computing capabilities of tomorrow. That's the promise of this new building holds. It allows us to better address the challenges of the future. So now let's take a quick look inside the facility that will drive so much of Langley's research in the years ahead.
Hi, I'm Vince Whitfield, and we're here at the Katherine Johnson Computational Research Facility at NASA's Langley Research Center. We're about to cut the ribbon on this state-of-the-art facility, but before we do, let's take a sneak peek inside the building that will enable innovative research and development across all of NASA's mission areas. Let's take a look inside. This building, the third new structure built in the last 6 years as part of the center's revitalization plan, is named for Katherine G. Johnson. For those watching who may not know, Ms. Johnson is a human computer, an amazing mathematician who calculated trajectories and played a key role in America's human spaceflight program, including the Apollo 11 moon landing. Featured in the lobby is a beautiful portrait of Ms. Johnson that was taken last year at nearby Fort Monroe by famous photographer Annie Leibovitz for a Vanity Fair magazine article. We also have items here that recognize Katherine and the other human computers, like an official proclamation from the Commonwealth of Virginia and a Group Achievement Award from the NASA Administrator. A little less than half of the space in this 37,000 square foot facility is dedicated to supporting the employees of the Office of the Chief Information Officer and those who will be contributing to and benefiting from the technologies that are housed here. Researchers from across the center will conduct a variety of computing projects here, including aerodynamic modeling, entry, descent and landing calculations, and computational fluid dynamics. The facility advances Langley's capabilities in modeling and simulation, big data, and analysis. Much of the work now performed in wind tunnels will one day be handled by powerful computers, such as those in the CRF. Now, let's go take a look at the guts of this high-tech facility. The data hall has a maximum capacity of nearly 200 racks. That's enough to store almost 4,000 systems here. You may have noticed the racks are mostly empty right now. About 1,200 servers will be moved from their current locations on Center later this fall, allowing us to consolidate numerous server rooms and data centers from across Langley into this one data center here in the CRF. When all of the systems are moved, there will be about 13 miles of copper network cabling and 97 miles of fiber optic cable in the building. Now I know it's loud in these rooms, and here's why. The electrical power plant that powers the IT functions of this building can supply 2.1 megawatts. That's enough to power a small town. Because of the importance of the information on the servers, the building is designed to withstand Category 3 hurricane conditions. There are generators that can run continuously even in the event of a power outage. And it's on track to receive LEED Silver certification from the US Green Building Council. The building is an energy saver, 33% more efficient than energy standards just a few years ago. So that concludes our quick look at this new building, a building whose capabilities and people will help to address NASA's future challenges. Speaking of the future, we have a special treat from the next generation of NASA employees from our Child Development Center here at NASA Langley.
That's a great ending to that video. You can't see too much of that. But as you can see, this facility will improve the efficiency and reliability of our number crunching. It will also give us room to grow and collaborate with our partners across the agency and with industry. As you know, at Langley, we have world-class researchers. That's been true for a century now. And researchers from across our center will benefit from this new facility. One of our areas of expertise is entry, descent, and landing, or EDL as we call it. And it's really the science of how a spacecraft enters and flies through a planet's atmosphere and lands safely on its surface. Langley's skill in this area has been used for every successful robotic mission that's landed on Mars. And as we are called upon to support NASA's journey to Mars, the calculations we need to get us there will take place in this new building. Improving our aerodynamic testing capabilities using computer models, also known as computational fluid dynamics, is another area where these powerful computer servers will help us lead the way for NASA. And in materials research, an area I used to work many, many years ago, there's potential to model the property of new polymers and learn which ones will help us create stronger, lighter, more capable aircraft and spacecraft. All very exciting stuff. But no matter how mighty your computers are, at the end of the day, it takes the people to use those computers and the innovation and brilliant ideas they come up with. And what we're really doing is taking lessons learned when Katherine Johnson and her fellow human computers calculated spacecraft trajectories with paper, pencil, and adding machines, and applying them to today's missions. With this new facility, we will continue to advance the same techniques that she used to such spectacular effect. And I can't imagine a better tribute to Mrs. Johnson's character and accomplishments than this building that will bear her name. So this, yes, that deserves a round of applause. I agree. And so this really is a day of celebration for our center and really all of NASA. And I wanted to say again, thank you, Katherine, and all of your family for being here today. We're glad you could be here to share in this moment. And we're happy all of you could join us for such a great day. You know, this is an incredible project, wouldn't have been possible without the hard work, collaboration, and support from our partners and friends outside of NASA as well. And we're going to hear from a few of them today. So first, I'd like to invite Colonel Jason Kelly of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to the podium. Colonel Kelly, can you come up?
To Governor McAuliffe, Senator Warner, Representative Taylor, Mayor Tuck, Ms. Shetterly, friends of this storied installation and organization, and of course, Ms. Johnson and family. Thank you for joining us today on this very special afternoon, on this very special day. As I look out, I see friends, I see partners, I see folks that understand the importance of collaboration, working together, especially when you're solving big problems, when taking on, addressing, and conquering substantive challenges. Such things are not done alone. The preciseness required to construct a computational research facility under the watchful eye of scientists and fellow engineers, from which the occupants will explore and expand the frontiers of knowledge regarding space, is not easily done. But I've been confident throughout. I knew this very moment, this ceremony, this very day would soon come. Ms. Kellerman, the Center Operations Director, and I have long talked about it. Exact is the demand she impressed upon me and all involved in the oversight of construction of this building. Having earned an undergraduate degree in mathematics from the United States Military Academy, followed by studies in statistics at the Georgia Institute of Technology, I feel uniquely qualified to speak on precision. It's a hallmark of the Army Corps of Engineers, and it underpins all that NASA has done and continues to do for our great nation. I'm honored to represent the many men and women, laborers, helpers, project managers, construction representatives, architects, engineers, and a host of support staff members who work so hard to deliver this facility. As the conclusion of my command tenure draws near, I look forward to watching from afar the great advancements and wonders that will soon be realized from this very site. I'm honored to have been a part of it, and I can't wait to see the great work that I know will be produced from this computational research facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Kelly, for those great remarks. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a good friend of NASA Langley, the mayor of the great city of Hampton, the Honorable Donnie Tuck. Mr. Mayor, come on up.
Good afternoon. To Governor McAuliffe, to Senator Warner, to Congressman Taylor, to other elected officials and government officials, to Director Bowles, and to the administrators, staff, researchers here at NASA Langley Research Center, and to the representatives from NASA headquarters and the other research centers, to Mrs. Katherine Johnson, to her family members and friends, to other distinguished guests. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you here. In our city's 407-year history, as well as 100-year of relationship with NASA Langley Research Center, we've had many, many historic events and many proud moments. And certainly today's prestigious recognition of Mrs. Johnson, whose contributions to NASA Langley Research Center and quiet strength have inspired so many young men and women to break through barriers, rates as the proudest moment that I've been a part of. So today, congratulations to you, and thank you, as well as to the incredible men and women here at NASA Langley Research Center who will follow in her footsteps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Tuck, for those great words. Now I'd like to invite to the podium Mr. Dan Tenney. He's NASA's Acting Associate Administrator for Mission Support. Dan, come on up.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you to all of you for being here today. This is truly a historic moment, and it's wonderful to see such high-level support for NASA's Langley Research Center and this new facility that we're dedicating on behalf of Ms. Katherine G. Johnson. It's my honor to do this today, to dedicate this facility, a facility that will enable the future. That's not an easy task in a rapidly changing environment such as aerospace, but this facility truly will endeavor our future. This facility will help us move forward in advancements in aeronautics, science, earth sciences, as well as space technology. It will also help us move forward as we advance towards our mission in Mars. From aeronautical support to human space flight to sciences and space technology, NASA Langley has continued to be involved in all facets of NASA's mission. And it's a tribute to our pioneering spirit, a spirit that inspires so many, and the story of Katherine G. Johnson, which has inspired so many. Her story will inspire generations of young people who will be inspired to pursue their dreams, their ambitions, to work for us, hopefully one day. As author Ms. Shutterly can attest, the many hidden figures that contributed to the great accomplishments of NASA are so important to our future. Ms. Johnson, thank you for being here. Thank you for your hard work over the years. You truly did make NASA a wonderful place in helping this nation advance our aerospace program. I'd also just like to say that Ms. Johnson's testimony is a tribute to her sharp mind, her pioneering spirit, and the many doors she helped open for so many others. It's my honor to be here today. I want to say congratulations to NASA Langley. Congratulations to Ms. Katherine G. Johnson, and congratulations to NASA as we continue to pave a way for the United States. Thank you. Let us celebrate together.
Thank you, Dan. All right, next we have a recorded message from Congressman Scott Taylor. So if we can cue that up.
Hi, everyone. It's Congressman Scott Taylor, and I'm extremely excited about NASA Langley's new computational center. It will strengthen Virginia's already strong reputation as a high-tech hub of innovation. It shows that Langley's strong past is a springboard to a dynamic future. The world has changed and opened up with complex challenges and profound possibilities. And just as Katherine Johnson expanded and accelerated our nation's computing power to meet the needs of today, this center will set the conditions of tomorrow in machine intelligence, big data analytics, aerospace technology, simulations of aircraft and spacecraft structures, electromagnetics, acoustics, trajectories, sensors, and computer models for hardware to explore our solar system, and much more. Ronald Reagan once said that each generation goes further than the generation preceding it because it stands upon the shoulders of that generation, and that you will have more opportunities beyond anything we've ever known. Pioneering patriots like Katherine Johnson broke racial and gender barriers in laying the foundation of mathematics critical to NASA's early space flights. Well, today, it is fitting that the foundation of this center is being laid in her honor. Our nation's economic future, national security, and our travels beyond this world depend on a new generation of innovators who stand on the shoulders of Katherine Johnson. We are counting on this center, and we are counting on them. No pressure. They must take on this task for our nation with persistence, character, and the confidence to make the impossible a reality. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless these United States.
All right, very good, and we certainly appreciate those words and that message from the Congressman. Now it's my distinct pleasure to invite to the podium a strong NASA supporter and a United States Senator from the Commonwealth of Virginia. He serves on the Finance, Banking, Budget, and Rules Committees and is Vice Chairman of the Select Committee on Intelligence. The Senator is a co-chair of the Senate Aerospace Caucus and of the Senate's Unmanned Aerial Systems Caucus. So please welcome Senator Warner to the podium.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for that introduction, and it is a great honor for me to also be here to celebrate this opening of this wonderful new facility and to finally have a chance to meet Mrs. Johnson. It is a really great honor. Colonel, you said you are here as an expert on precision. As a former governor and senator, I'm not an expert on precision. but I'm still extraordinarily glad to be here. And want to commend, I think back when I first got this job back in 2008 and 9, and talking with folks here, we thought about what could be that next generation value add that NASA Langley could bring about. And your team said advanced composites, modeling and simulation, all of the activities around big data and others that are going to come out of this facility. And to see that vision become more and more a reality is really remarkable. Also want to commend the fact that as we think about America's journey into space, and we're celebrating Ms. Johnson's role in that, you know, the fact is every American astronaut who ever walked on the moon did part of their training right here at NASA Langley. So in many ways, that the whole notion of America looking to the stars, looking to the notion of conquering space started right here at NASA Langley. And the notion that Ms. Johnson, I've also never been called a human computer either, but the idea that what she was able to do, she and her colleagues with paper, pencil, adding machines, and most importantly, just that plain intellect. Just that plain intellect is a remarkable, remarkable accomplishment. I know we're going to hear a little bit later from Margot Shatterley, who wrote the remarkable Hidden Figures, which turns into a film. And earlier this year, we had Ms. Shatterley come up to Capitol Hill, and Tim Kaine and Bobby Scott and I sponsored a viewing of the film. Ms. Johnson wasn't able to come, but we filled an auditorium 400 strong, particularly of Virginia young people, and they hung not only on the film, but on the words of our keynote speaker, and the inspiration that provided to particularly women and children of color to recognize that your imagination and as far as you can reach is only limited by your willingness to take on great challenges. And the truth is, Ms. Johnson represents that so much. So it's a real honor for me to be here. It's an honor for me to finally get a chance to meet you and to go along with all these other, we saw in that, Dave, that video presentation, you had like a little memorial from the state. We also, I want to go over and present to Ms. Johnson right now something that Tim and I put into the congressional record, recognizing your great contribution and the fact that your story needs to be taught in every school, not only across Virginia, but across America. Good enough politicians that when you get them standing, time to stop talking.
Thank you so much for that, doing that. That means a lot, so thank you very much. All right, now I'm happy to introduce a leader who works tirelessly to build a new Virginia economy based on 21st century industries, such as cybersecurity, biosciences, and advanced manufacturing. And I think it's safe to say that Langley's new computational center is a good example of the kind of high-tech future he sees for the Commonwealth of Virginia. As chairman of the National Governors Association, he made cybersecurity his signature initiative, and as a result, been called the Cyber Governor of the Year. He was named 2016 Bio Governor of the Year by the Biotechnology Innovation Organization and was twice elected chairman of the Chesapeake Bay Executive Council. I also know he's one of the first governors who flew in a drone over at Wallops about, 2 months ago? So another first. He has worked to make Virginia an open and welcoming place to do business and has led 30 trade missions to more than 24 countries. So we're very glad to have you back again, Governor. So please welcome the 72nd Governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia, the Honorable Terry McAuliffe.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, I want to thank David for his tremendous leadership. He started here 38 years ago And as the director of this Langley Research Center, I'm telling you, David, you have done a magnificent job. Let's give David a great round of applause if we could. Mayor Tuck, it's great to be back in the greatest city in the United States of America, back in Hampton, the greatest city and the greatest state and the greatest nation on earth. It all comes back to Virginia, does it not, folks? And to Katherine, what an honor to be with you today. We are so honored to have you here today at this magnificent facility. We love Langley Research Center here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. First of all, for what it does for us economically, about $1.2 billion a year of economic activity. It seems like just yesterday, but it was 2.5 years ago, I cut the ribbon on this very building that we're in today. And then the center and I were back recently for the measurement systems. We put the shovel in the ground, and to be here today again for this beautiful ribbon cutting really is something very special. We love Langley Research Facility. First of all, we would not be able to be in the air. We would never have been able to go to space were it not for Langley Research, and we thank you all for that, especially those politicians who spend a lot of time in the air. I thank you for safe and shorter flights today, but what you've been able to build for us for the future. This morning, the Senator and I were up at a great event where with a new fiber optic cable is coming into the United States of America. Where's that coming to? Virginia Beach, of course. The only place it should come, to Virginia. But that new cable will bring the fastest, most reliable data, which we'll be able to use for this facility now, which will be a collection of all the Langley Research data we will have in one place. As soon as I leave here, I'm going off to Wallops Island, and we are going to launch our first maritime drone. Virginia controls the air. We have more drone companies here than any other state in America. We control the land. We're building 55 sensors for automated vehicles. And by the end of today, we will own the sea. The land, the sea, and the air, all controlled by the Commonwealth of Virginia. How do you... And Katherine, none of that would have happened but for you. So I want to thank you. And as the director said, I did recently, I'm the first governor to actually go up in an unmanned system. I went up a drone off of our new Wallops Island. If you didn't know, Virginia is the only state in America that has a drone runway, 3,000-foot runway down at Wallops Island. I had a robot in the pilot chair. I hit a button, it took off. We went 8 miles over the Atlantic. I hit a button, said land, and the thing turned around, came back. That's a distinction. As you probably read in the paper, I just jumped out of an airplane at 10,000 feet. I had a parachute, landed at a Wounded Warrior event in Virginia Beach. As I like to say, my security detail, he's only got 4 months left. Who cares? Let him jump. Who cares anymore? But all of these great things that we're doing here, leading on cyber, leading on data centers, leading on autonomous vehicles, now a leader on biotech, a lot of that can come back here to the Langley Research Center. And I do want to thank all of you. And to Katherine, you have been a trailblazer. You think back into the 50s, what you were able to do when a lot of discrimination and people tried to constantly hold you down. It reminds me of another groundbreaking I just did. I just named the new building, the new state office building in Richmond, the new Attorney General office. I named that after another trailblazer, a 16-year-old young African-American girl by the name of Barbara Johns. Our state office building today, is now the Barbara Johns State Office Building because, like you, Katherine, this 16-year-old girl in Prince Edward County, Virginia, at a very difficult time in the 50s, 2 sets of schools, white students, black students. And she led a revolt in the 50s at the age of 16 years old and said, this isn't fair and it's not right. And she led 400 of her fellow students, got them all into the gym, 16 years old in the 50s in Prince Edward County. Think of that. And then had someone go down the street and call the principal and say, there's a student down here in Farmville, come get him. As soon as the principal left, she got them all in, closed the doors, and she marched all 400 out, and she said, we are not coming back until we have an equal school. And she got that done. And Katherine, you are that same trailblazer. So when I think of Virginia and the history of what we've gone through, we have had Maggie Walker, we've had so many great leaders. You are at the top of that list. So on behalf of everybody who's had to knock down walls and knock down barriers, we want to thank you because you were at the forefront. It's easier now to come behind, but we needed always somebody who was that ram and rod. That was you, Katherine. So on behalf of all of us here in the Commonwealth and the United States of America, I thank you for your leadership. And today is not about putting a name on a wall or a building. Today is about every young student or every young African American girl today who's going to school says, I too can do this. I too can be a success. We just met a young woman, a junior at ODU, when we were touring the facility, all excited. Katherine Johnson was her hero. She is here now. And she's here because of Katherine Johnson, and that is her future. So today is not about names. Today is, Katherine, what you have been, a trailblazer, and your name will go on and on to all of those young women who follow behind you, who have the courage to do it because of you, Katherine. So thank you on behalf of all of us.
Yes. Thank you very much, Governor. All right, so next we're going to hear from today's keynote speaker, someone who knows Katherine Johnson well, someone who has spent years researching the stories of Katherine and the many other female mathematicians at Langley who made such important contributions to NASA and our nation. Let's welcome back to the center a distinguished member of NASA Langley's extended family, Margot Lee Shetterly.
Thank you, Dave, and to all of our distinguished guests, to everyone in the NASA Langley family, and most of all, to Mrs. Katherine Johnson. It is an honor to be here today. In 1962, following the success of John Glenn's orbital spaceflight, the city of Hampton hosted a parade for the Mercury 7 astronauts. The astronauts and their families, local politicians, NASA executives, everybody toured through the city in a motorcade of 33 convertibles, and throngs of people came out to celebrate them. Now, as the public faces of the space program, those men became heroes, and their names were synonymous with American ingenuity, perseverance, and courage. Who among the 30,000 people who crowded the streets of Hampton, my hometown, I may add, that day to catch a glimpse of those Mercury 7 astronauts could have guessed that 55 years later, we would be convening to dedicate this state-of-the-art data facility to the woman whose mathematical acuity and behind-the-scenes calculations contributed to the success of so many of those groundbreaking missions. But let's not forget the motto of the city of Hampton is E Praeteris Futura, out of the past, the future. The question, as always, has been which past and to what future? But today, as we dedicate the Katherine G. Johnson Computational Facility, we take the time to celebrate Mrs. Johnson's past, her contributions to the success of NASA, to computer science, and to our nation's space program. Since the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics set up shop here in Hampton in 1917, 100 years ago, the Langley Research Center, which was originally called the Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory, has been reaching for the heavens. Katherine's work and that of the other women mathematicians who worked here with her is the foundation of this building. We are living in a present that they willed into existence with their pencils, their slide rules, their mechanical calculating machines, and of course, their brilliant minds. With Katherine Johnson's achievements to inspire us, we are called first to imagine and then to engineer the future of NASA, of our community, and of our country. From the vantage point of the present, it's really easy for us to look at the past and to assume that what actually happened was always inevitable. Seems like a foregone conclusion, for example, that America would triumph over the Russians in the space race. Only when we step into our time machine and examine the past up close do we understand that the path to the future is rarely smooth or direct or predictable. And Katherine's story is no exception. But at every fork, her talent, her hard work, and her character pulled her toward her destiny. At every turn, she made a choice, becoming the protagonist of her own story and then of ours. Her work calculating the trajectory for John Glenn's 1962 orbital flight is only the most well-known episode in a life that intersected many of the memorable events of the 20th century. But it's an anecdote from her youth, one that took place decades before those decisive weeks in 1962, that I think is particularly relevant to this occasion because it paved the way for us to be here today. Katherine Johnson graduated from high school and enrolled in the historically black college, West Virginia State Institute, at age 14. And in no time, she had whipped through all of the courses in the math department. Now, a professor named W.W. Shefflin Claytor, he was the third African American in the country to get a PhD in mathematics, and he was born in Norfolk. Dr. Claytor took note of Katherine's talent, and he developed advanced math classes just for her. And in fact, he did more than that. What he did was he began to prepare her for a career as a research mathematician, which for any woman in the 1930s, much less a black woman, was essentially non-existent. "Where will I find a job?" she asked him. And he said, "Well, that's your problem." Now, I've come to think of Shefflin Claytor as the ghost of NASA future. Somehow, he believed that his star student would eventually find a career that was worthy of her talents, and he did all he could to set the cornerstone of that career. And the fact that a professional mathematician's job was nowhere on the horizon when Katherine Johnson was in college did nothing to dull her enthusiasm for that work. When she finally made it to NASA in 1953, this was 16 years after graduation, many of those years spent working as a math teacher in segregated Virginia schools, she was well prepared for the job. And she was so well prepared, in fact, that Dorothy Vaughan, who was the head of Langley's all-black West Area Computing Unit, selected her for the assignment in the Flight Research Division. And I just want to mention that Dorothy Vaughan actually taught at Moton High School. This is the black school in Farmville, Virginia, where Barbara Johns went to school. So there are a lot of connections here. Now, Dorothy Vaughan herself was a brilliant mathematician, and she was also an excellent manager. So Dorothy knew that when she sent Katherine Johnson to this hard-charging group of brainy fellas, that she was sending the smart one. This is, as the John Glenn character mentions in the Hidden Figures movie. Katherine Johnson was the right person at the right time for the job at hand. And it was the rigorous preparation from her days as a student that would set the trajectory that would bring her here to NASA, where she could play a role in determining the future. So any of you students out there who have ever been in math class and have asked your teacher, "When am I ever going to use this?" I think this might be a really good time for you to have a sit down with Mrs. Johnson. So by now, most of us know the details of the work that Katherine Johnson did here at NASA. We know about the calculations she provided for Alan Shepard's flight, the calculations that she provided for John Glenn's pioneering orbital flight. We know about the math that she contributed to the parking orbit calculations for the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. Today, all of those things seem inevitable, but without her past full of diverging roads and choices that made all the difference, we would not be standing on the brink of this future. My first interview with Katherine Johnson took place in 2010, and no matter how many times I've heard her story since then, I am always blown away and very touched. But what she did in that interview, and over the course of many more interviews, was to tell me the stories of other women. She told me about her admiration for Mary Jackson, who became NASA's first black female engineer. She told me that she considered Dorothy Vaughan to be one of the smartest people that she has ever met. And she told me that when she speaks to students in classrooms, and she has always been working to inspire kids to choose STEM careers, that she never fails to mention Dr. Christine Darden, who started in the computing pool at Langley in 1967 and went on to become a top expert on the phenomena of sonic booms, and she is here today. She told me about Marge Hanna, the white woman who was the first supervisor of the segregated West Area group, and Marge eventually joined Katherine's group and did forward-thinking research into missions to Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and this was back in the late 60s and early 70s. So by telling her own story, Katherine Johnson put me onto the story of the black women in the West Area Computing Group. She led me to the white women of the East Area Computing Group as well. And in fact, When we celebrate her, we celebrate the women who worked as computers, mathematicians, technicians, scientists, and engineers at all of the NACA and NASA installations over the years. Her story is a story of curiosity and the thirst for knowledge that is at the core of this agency. My curiosity about Katherine's story planted the seed for Hidden Figures, and what I've come to believe after years of research is that the world that took shape over the course of the 20th century, which many of us call the American century, this world of airplanes, of spaceships, missiles, computers, communications technology, that world is in many ways the history of women sitting in rooms like the ones here at Langley, doing math. And with all of those shoulders to stand on, there is no telling what we will be able to achieve in the future. So Katherine, telling your story has been an honor. Your work changed our history, and your history has changed our future. So thank you, happy belated birthday, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Margot, for those words. And I'll just share, Margot and I were talking in the facility before the celebration. And it's just amazing that we're here during our centennial year and today celebrating the opening of this building with somebody who had such an impact on our first 100 years. And this new facility is really going to lay the groundwork for our second 100 years. So it's just, as I tell people all the time, you can't make this stuff up. It all came together in the same year, but it's just an amazing story, and that's a good lead-in to share a special video message from our guest of honor today. So let's show that video.
You want my honest answer? I think they're crazy. I was excited. It was something new. Always like something new. But give us credit to everybody who helped. I didn't do anything alone but try to go to the root of the question and succeeded there. Do your best, but like it. Like what you're doing, then you will do your best. If you don't like it, shame on you. Well, now, if they just did the hard work that I did, which was my job, I did it every day. I never missed a day. Never stayed home playing stick and stuff. But my problem was to answer questions. And I did that to the best of my ability at all times, correct or incorrect. But that's my theory. Do your best all the time. I'll be exceedingly honored and greatly honored. But you know, math is the same. I gave you that answer last year. It's the same now today. Well, the main thing is I liked what I was doing. I liked work. I liked the stars and the stories we were telling. And it was a joy to contribute to the literature that was going to be coming out. But little did I think it would go this far.
Yes, that was just fantastic. Thank you, Katherine, for everything you've done to, like I say, shape that first 100 years and lay the foundation for the second 100 years. Just amazing. They actually asked me if I wanted to see that video yesterday, and I told them no, I didn't. I wanted to see it real time today, and it certainly didn't disappoint. It was amazing. Just fantastic. Blew me away. All right, so I also want to thank everyone who's helped to make this day really a reality. Our partners at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Norfolk District, everyone at Turner Construction, and our team here, including our Center Operations Directorate and the Office of Chief Information Officer. So it's a beautiful building, and I know it, and the people who work in it will help us reach new heights, reveal the unknown for the benefit of humankind. That's what NASA does. Pretty cool job. As I say, I've got the coolest job on the planet. So with that, it's really time to get down to business and officially open our new building. So I'd like to ask today's speakers to join me for the ceremonial ribbon cutting over here to the right. So Ms. Johnson, if you can move over there. Also, I'd like to ask Loretta Kellerman, Director of our Center Operations Directorate, to join us over there as well. Her team and the great work, we wouldn't be here having this ribbon cutting today without her team. So let's all go over there.
Four, three, two, one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rob Wyman, the lead for Langley's Office of Communications, and on behalf of Director Bowles and the remainder of the staff here, thank you for coming. For those of you in the room, please sit tight for just a minute. We have some announcements for you, but for those of you who virtually joined us online from NASA TV and Facebook Live, and we counted that include upward of 20 different countries from around the world joined us today. Thank you so much. This concludes the televised portion of today's ceremony. Thank you for helping us celebrate Katherine Johnson and NASA and this milestone for us all. Thank you. Hold on, guys. Thank you. Yep.